Hi everybody, I hope you're having a great day and I hope you're having a great week. I am coming to you today from my floor because it is raining outside and I can't get my lighting to cooperate. So I'm down here trying to get away from the natural light that keeps causing shadows, and we'll just see how this goes. If you're new to my channel, my name is Sammy and I make mommy, lifestyle, and Leo content, which is content for fellow law enforcement officer wives, and I just try to give a little perspective on the life of a new mommy and a wife to a police officer. So today I just want to talk about a few of the things no one tells you about having a newborn. My son is 16 weeks old today and he is growing so fast, and I love every minute of it, but I wish I could make time stand still. It seems like it's all just going too quickly, but there's a few things that I wish I would have known in the beginning, and I have a couple other mommy content videos on here, my birth story and my breastfeeding journey. I also have my favorite products from 0 to 3 months, so I will have all of those linked. But being a mom is hard. It's the hardest thing that I've ever done, and it's also the most rewarding thing I've ever done. Whenever I say that it's the hardest thing I've ever done, I always try to include that it's the most rewarding, because just because it's hard doesn't mean that I would change it. My baby boy has just rocked my world, and my perspective is so different now than it was before, and I'm so grateful and thankful for him. And sometimes though, I think that especially with social media the way that it is, we see the highlight reel and all of the wonderful ups of having a child, and nobody prepares you for the exhaustion and the weight of having a new baby. And I think part of that is perspective. I think, when your kids are all grown and you look back, you remember all of the beautiful moments instead of the late nights and the tears and the fear of having a baby. But because I am a new mom, hopefully I can give a little bit of perspective to other new moms and to those that are expecting, and maybe help them feel not so alone. So one of the things I wish I would have known is the pure exhaustion you will feel after you have a baby. And I don't mean just, the raising of the baby. I mean the physical exhaustion after giving birth and then being sent home with a 48-hour-old child, and who's completely reliant on you for every single thing that they need. And you know that in your head, but when it comes down to actually trying to live on no sleep and trying to take care of another baby, like another person on that exhaustion level, is extremely overwhelming. And if I would have known how tired I would be, I might have been a little bit better prepared for that. If you watch my birth story, please do. It's linked below. It's a different experience for sure. But I was in labor for 22 hours before he was delivered emergency C-section. And then of course you're in the hospital and you're being checked on and poked and prodded and all of those things for the length of your time there. And hospitals are not restful anyway, so by the time we got home, I had slept maybe 3 or 4 hours in a period of 4 days. And I was just so exhausted. And I was also attempting to breastfeed, and all of those little things that they say, your hormones crash and that's what makes you so emotional. I don't think it's just the hormones. I think it's the exhaustion, because you're so tired that you can't even think straight. And you leave things behind and you forget people's names. And I'm not kidding. I mean, it's no joke. The exhaustion is incredible. And that was very overwhelming for me. So if you're a new mama or you're expecting, send your baby to the nursery for at least the last night that you're there, and try and get some good sleep, because in the hospital you have all of this help. You have these wonderful, amazing nurses. I had an amazing postpartum team that took care of me, and Oliver as well. But when you get home, I was lucky enough that my husband was able to be home for 6 weeks. His department pays for that, and one of the best things about his job by far is the fact that he's able to be home for 6 weeks after I give birth. But you're alone. I mean, you essentially are, and you and your partner are brand new to this, and it's this brand new baby that cries and you don't know what's wrong with it, and it's like, play the guessing game as to what's wrong with it, why won't it stop crying. And so while you're still in the hospital, get some actual rest, get some sleep. Send the baby to the nursery or put your headphones in and sleep for solid hours. Don't just encourage people not to come and visit. I know that at one point, my husband, I was so exhausted, and I had finally just fallen asleep, and a nurse came in to take my blood, and my sister was there at the time, and she said that he was like, no, come back later. She has not slept. She needs to sleep. And I'm so thankful that he did that, because I slept for like 2 hours and I woke up and I felt like a whole new woman. And you'll be amazed at how little sleep will actually get you further as a mom. But give yourself some grace there. Send the baby to the nursery or have somebody come and stay in the room so that you can close your eyes and get some good sleep. My husband was so exhausted too. We both were just dead beat, and just have somebody there that you trust so that you can actually relax and get some sleep, and your husband can as well before you're sent home with this tiny little human. So that was the number one thing that I was not prepared for, was the exhaustion. And of course I was breastfeeding as well, so I still had to be up every 2 hours. And I mean, I swear to you, for a while it was all I could do just to feed my baby. I mean, I would change his diaper and feed him and put him to sleep, and that was the extent of what I could do. And that's okay. That is totally okay. Don't feel like you have to run a marathon or spring clean your house or those kinds of things. You just had a baby. You just pushed a human from your body. Give yourself grace. Give yourself time. Of course, if you've had a C-section, they want you up and moving, and that's extremely important. It was very beneficial to my recovery. The quicker I got up and moved, the better I was. But don't feel like you have to entertain. Don't feel like you have to host people. Don't feel like you need to, like I said, spring clean your house. You take care of you and your baby, and that is all you can do sometimes, and that is all you need to do. That is it. So yeah, that was the one thing I was not prepared for at all. The next thing I was not prepared for was the fact that my breastfeeding journey would not be as I had either hoped or been kind of told my whole life. Breastfeeding's natural, breastfeeding's beautiful, you should do it. Yes, it is natural, and yes, it's the most beneficial for your baby. However, it may not be the most beneficial for you and your baby. So if your mental health is declining because you are so exhausted that you can't see straight, and you are, just at your wit's end, your hormones are crashing, you're exhausted, and you find that formula is working just as well and gives you some peace and gives you some time to rest, and you're not running on fumes, you just do that. I mean, you do whatever works for you. And this is the one thing that I've had to learn as a new mom, is you know what's best, and no one else can decide what is good for your child. I read tons of books, I read tons of articles, I read basically everything I could get my hands on, watched videos, about what I should be doing for my baby, and the routines we should be getting into, and all of these things I should be doing. And that's great in theory, and it works for some people, but it may not work for you, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. And sometimes it's all you can do just to get through the day, and that's okay. You're brand new at this. This is a new little person, and you are a new mom, and there's all of this new responsibility, and your body hurts, and you're exhausted, and you're leaking everywhere, and you're just overwhelmed, and that's all okay. That's part of the process. That's normal. And I think a lot of times moms are held to this standard of perfection and of, you should be super mom as soon as your baby is born, and you should feed them all the right things, and take them to all the right classes, and get their brain functioning, and all of those things. And while that's important, and it's important to make sure your child is developing, that will come. It all comes that part of it does come very naturally. And I don't have a child with learning disabilities or anything like that so far that we know of, and so I'm very blessed in that sense. Some parents really have, they have a child with autism or Down syndrome, and that's a beautiful gift, but it makes their journey a lot different, and sometimes a lot more difficult, most of the time a lot more difficult. Also, my son didn't have a lot of physical problems, and all of those things affect a mom's journey and a baby's journey. And it's okay if you're not, loving the breastfeeding journey. It's okay if you're not, wanting to hold your son or daughter every second of every day. And just find what works for you, and stick with that. Don't feel guilty for not doing what everyone else says you should do. Don't feel guilty for not going by the parenting books, or by, taking a longer recovery. All of those things are specific to each mother. They are not a broad rule as people think they are or say they are. So just give yourself grace, give yourself room there to breathe, and it will really help you. The other thing I did not prepare for, of course, was the possibility of a C-section. I did in my mind. I was like, you could have a C-section. But I really didn't think I would have to. And so when I did, it was a little bit hard. And please watch my birth story. Things went a lot differently than I would have ever thought. But the most important thing at the end of the day is not your birth story. The most important thing is that your baby is there, and he or she is happy and healthy, and they're, growing like they're supposed to, and they're thriving like they're supposed to. Those are all things that are the most important. And, while I mourn some parts of my birth story, I'm very grateful that it happened the way that it did, because my son is here and he's healthy and well. And that's the most important thing, and I wouldn't trade anything for that. I wouldn't pay millions of dollars to have a different birth story if it meant that my son wasn't here. So yeah, just be prepared that things may not go as you plan, and that's all right. The last thing I want to say is just give yourself room to feel every emotion. Your hormones are crashing, your body is recovering, your mind is recovering, and sometimes you argue with yourself, well, I should be better by now, I should be up and moving by now, I should be cleaning my house by now, I should be doing all of these things by now. Nobody can decide that. You just have to find the right balance for you. If you feel sad, embrace it and let yourself feel those emotions, and then move on. If you are overjoyed at your son gurgling, just enjoy it because it goes by so very quickly. And just give yourself grace, and I know that those first few weeks are a blur. You're so exhausted, you're trying to recover, you're trying just to find a new balance and find a new normal. Take the help when it's offered. Every time, take it. Don't refuse it. Don't let your pride get in the way. Let somebody come and cook and clean for you. All of those kinds of things, excuse me. Just postpartum depression and postpartum recovery is so difficult. And thankfully I did not experience too much postpartum depression. I think I had what they call the baby blues that last for a couple of weeks, but then I was able to bounce out of that. But it's such a delicate time, and we don't talk about it enough. And I think that the most important thing is that you are well. You know, you are here, and your baby is here, and that's the most important thing. And anything outside of that is trivial. It really is. It's just trivial. And it's hard to think that when you're in the moment, when your baby's crying and you can't get them to stop, or you know, you're crying for the 7th time that day because you broke an egg, or you know, whatever it may be. It flies by so quickly, and it does get better. I promise it does. It doesn't feel like it. It feels so overwhelming, like you're never gonna figure it out. And trust me, I'm still learning every day. Excuse me. I'm still finding that balance every day. We take it a day at a time. But you will find it, and there's so much joy and there's so much beauty in motherhood. And it's hard. I mean, it's damn hard. It's the hardest thing I've ever done. It is. It's the most difficult experience I've ever had in my life, but it is the most beautiful experience I've had in my life, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. So I will leave all of those other videos linked below if you would like to check them out. I will have more mommy content coming soon. And check out my Meet My Baby Boy video. That's my favorite video on my YouTube channel. And I hope that this is helpful to you as a new mom, or a future mom, or a pregnant lady, whatever it is, wherever you're at in your journey. I hope that this is helpful to you. And I hope that you will follow along. I hope you will click subscribe and be here for my journey as I learn balance, and as a mama and wife. And I would love to see you in the comments below. Let me know where you're coming from. Say hello. So I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.